This is the lesson for 7.3a, the volume of a cylinder. So I'd like you guys to read from here down to here, and the sub can press pause right now and give you guys a moment to do that, and then we'll continue when ready. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to read this, and if so, you're ready to go through this problem. Clearly this pool right here has 6 square units of area. That would be the area right here, 6 units squared. The perimeter is just how far on the outside, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The perimeter is just 10 units. That's the distance around the outside. Okay, well, what happens if we then increase the water depth to a meter? In other words, if this then becomes like a three-dimensional object right here, and each one of these is like that. Now, if that's 1 meter, then the volume of this is 1 times the area, which is 6, so it's 6 meters cubed. Basically, however tall this is, you just multiply it by the area. So now if I increase it to 2 meters, and I'm just going to, obviously this isn't drawn to scale, but if I just add another layer here, you just multiply the 2 meter depth times the original area of 6, so 2 times 6 is 12 meters cubed. And that's important that we're using cubic units here because it's three-dimensional shapes that we're talking about. And you clearly see that 3 times 6 is 18. And of course 4 times 6 would be 24 meters cubed, and the next one, 10 times 6 would be 60 meters cubed. But the key to understanding this is where this 6 is coming from, and that 6 is just the area of the rectangle. That's it. It's this area, the first layer, and then you just multiply it by how tall it is. So you get the idea here. This is just another problem that's different kinds of numbers. So it would have an area of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 4 by 3. So that's where this 12 is coming from, times the height. That's the area. That's the height. That's it. So you guys can answer this question. How to find the volume of a pool for any given depth? If you know the depth, you just multiply it by the area. You multiply it by the area. Okay, next page. That formula you see right here for the volume, that's the volume. That capital B is what this is asking about. So that's the height of the rectangle. So that capital B is what they're asking for. So that capital B is the area of the base. And then clearly the H is the height. So what you got to know is you're actually multiplying 3 numbers. The area of the base is the length times the width. Then you multiply it by how tall it is. So length times width times height. Again, 3 dimensions. That's why you have a third power. Okay, well now we have a new pool. Suddenly, think of it as a jacuzzi, which is a round 2-dimensional figure here. The perimeter of a circle is not called the perimeter. It's actually called the circumference. And the circumference formula, if anybody remembers, is going to involve our special symbol, of course, is pi somehow. Well, the circumference formula is you take this thing right here, which is called the radius, you double it, and if you actually don't know this, 2 radiuses, which is this right here, is called the diameter. So you double the radius and you multiply it by pi. So what you can say is that it's pi times d, or 2 radiuses times pi. That's sometimes written like this, 2 pi r. That's the perimeter or basically the circumference of the circle. And the area should sound familiar. The area is pi times the radius squared. And again, the short one's the radius, the long one's the diameter, kind of like the word itself. Okay? This is a circle. That's what kind of a three-dimensional object is. That when we turn it into a pool, is no longer called a circle. It's called a cylinder. Soda can. That's it. It's a soda can. Cylinder. It's a circle that has height to it. And the cool part is that there's really no new formula that you have to memorize. You just got to understand that the bottom of this cylinder and the bottom of any cylinder is really just a circle. And if you know the area of a circle, which is pi r squared formula, all you do is multiply that by how tall it is. So once again, the volume of this is the V, would equal the area of this thing right here, which is a circle, pi r squared, again, the area of a circle, and then you just multiply that by how tall it is. So this area, like the bottom of the can, is the area of the base times how tall it is. That's it. Piece of cake. So now that we have this formula derived, clearly all you got to do is find the area of this circle and then multiply it by these certain heights. So if this right here has a radius of 1 meter, as they say, so this is equal to 1, this is equal to 1, radius squared, 1 squared is 1, and 1 times pi is just pi. So the area of this would be just pi, which is about what? 3.14. So if you multiply 3.14 by 1, you end up with about 3.14. Times 2, if you just double that, would be 6.28. You multiply by 3, it's about 9.4, and so forth. You're just multiplying this area of this 1 unit radius circle by how tall it is, and so on and so on. So on the next page, hopefully you have a calculator in front of you. If not, press pause and grab one. We're going to find the volume for the cylinder. So all you got to know is that the volume is the area of the bottom times how tall it is. So it's telling us to write it in terms of pi and also as a decimal. So we're going to use two different ways. All right, let's start with the easy way. First of all, this is the radius right here. So volume equals pi times the radius squared times the height. So just replace these numbers with this. So if this is 3, 3 squared is 9, and then 9 times 5 is 45. So the volume would be equal to pi times 45. That's in terms of pi. You just leave it like that. Or you could say 45 pi. That might come up on your SBAC test where they just leave it times pi. And clearly all you have to do to get the answer as a decimal is just literally multiply that out. So if you don't know what 45 times pi is, the calculator does. 45 times, you can either use the pi key or you can use 3.14, and that's why you might get some variation. So somewhere around 141.3, which is approximately 141.3, and it's inches cubed. It's three-dimensional shape. Okay? Just because it's laying on its side doesn't mean it's not the same formula. This is the radius, square it, times pi times the height. Go ahead and try number 8, press pause, and come back for the answer. So I plugged it all in, I squared that, multiplied by 7. That's where you got the 43.75 times pi, so that's in terms of pi. And then if you just literally multiply that by pi, you get approximately 137.4 yards cubed. Okay? These two, again, you can try on your own. I'll go ahead and press pause, and I'll just give you the answers to them. Okay, checking your answers for this, pretty straightforward. You just square that times that, and that's where this number comes from. And if you multiply that by pi, you get 26,323. This one was a little tricky. I don't know if you caught that this says diameter was 8.8. Well, if you think about a diameter compared to a radius, the radius is exactly half of the diameter. So you actually had to divide that by 2 to get your radius. So the diameter is 8.8, the radius is 4.4. And when you square that, multiply by 9, you end up with 174.2 times pi. So take a note of that if you didn't catch that. Okay, so the last two. Now these change slightly because it's giving you something else. They're asking for the missing measurement. So they may be giving you a different part of the formula. For example, in number 11, they're telling you what the volume is. The volume is 117.1. They're telling you the height is 15 feet. So remember, just using this formula right here, pi r squared h, pi r squared h, they told us that the v is this. We know that it's equal to pi, because that's always in the formula. What are they asking us for? Well, they're asking us to find the diameter. But they're telling us the height, so we know that this is times 15. And so what's missing? Well, clearly it's the r squared. And from the r squared we can find the diameter. So in other words, I just plugged in all the information they gave me with the numbers, and I'm left with one variable. So all this is solving an equation for an unknown. So we're trying to isolate r squared. And how do you do that? Well, you just got to divide by pi and 15. So doing that, divide by pi times 15, or 15 pi. That will cancel that. So now that's just a number divided by another couple of numbers multiplied together. So let's see. 117.1 divided by 3.14 times 15 equals 2.486. Good enough. So r squared is equal to 2.486. Well, how do you unsquare something? You square root it. So r is approximately equal to whatever the square root of this is. So I take this answer and I take the square root of it. So 2.486. I take the square root of 2.486 and I get approximately 1.57 for the radius. 76. And then the diameter then is just two of those. So times 2, the diameter is approximately 3.15. I'll leave that up here for a second if you want to talk about it. Okay, this video is limited to 15 minutes, so this is going to be the last one I am able to do. These two are just asking you the same types of things, except you're going to draw your own cylinder. So let's do number 12 because it has all the information we need. They're asking us to find the height. They're giving us the volume. They're giving us the diameter. So if they give you a diameter, that means the radius is exactly half of that. So 8.2 is our radius. If I give you the radius, they double it to get diameter or vice versa. So now, plug stuff in. Volume equals pi r squared times the height. Well, they tell us that 4224.8 is the volume, equal to pi. We know what r is this time. It's 8.2 squared. And they're asking us to find the height, so I'm going to put in an h. Now all you need to do is square that, multiply by pi, and then divide it by that. I'm going to press pause for me so I don't run out of time. So again, square the 8.2 times pi, get a number, and then you're going to divide both sides by that number. Okay, so what I did is I squared 8.2, and I multiplied it by pi, and that comes out to, that's just a number, that's 211.13 approximately. So you divide by that and that multiplied together, which is this number. And this volume divided by this number gives us approximate height of 20 millimeters. Okay, last part of this problem is just to find the circumference. And all you need to know is what the formula for circumference is. It's just pi times the diameter. And they gave us the diameter right there. So just multiply pi times the diameter and you get your circumference. Again, sir, I don't have time for the last two, but they're literally just reading problems, drawing pictures of cylinders, finding missing values. And these two problems are the ones that will help you with that last page. Okay, work on your homework that's due tomorrow. I'll see you on Wednesday or Thursday.